This is Screendivers. In this week's episode, we are talking about 2006 Taxidermia. Directed by György Pálfi, written by György Pálfi and Sofia Rotkai, based on the short stories of Lajos Partinagi, produced by Peter Miskolci, Gabor Varadi, and starring Csaba Czene, György Troxani, Piroshka Molnar, Adele Stancel. I hope we didn't butcher that, but I'm pretty sure we did. Cinematography by Gergely Pohanuk, edited by Reka Lemeni, music by Eamon Tobin, and produced by Amorpho Film Production, Eurofilm Studio, Catapult Film, Le Cinefacture, Memento Film Productions, and many other production companies. This movie was distributed by Pool Film, Memento Films. It was released on the 3rd of February 2006 in Hungary and then did the rounds at Cannes. This movie has a running time of 94 minutes. It was shot in Hungary, Austria, and France, and it's a bit of a Tower of Babel movie as it features Hungarian, English, and Russian as spoken languages. This movie allegedly had a budget of $2.4 million and it made $11,408. How are you, Ricky?
I am super well. How are you?
I'm all right, man. But you know what? Ladies and gentlemen, in this week's episode, hailing from the graveyard shifts and the blood-soaked aisle of now defunct video stores, here's the undisputed heavyweight champion of the jump scare, the Prime Minister of Panic. He's the man who keeps your nightlight bill running high and your pulse raising even higher. Please welcome the host of the Horrorweekly podcast, George Healy.
Wow. Thank you for that introduction.
Mate, I was about to pass out there for a second.
The fact that you pulled that off after the whole introduction of the names is blowing my mind.
Mate, it's so good to have you here.
It's good to be here. I'm still reeling from the budget-profit ratio you just hit me with.
What a movie. What a movie. I mean, Steve is not here to ask that question. He's on tour duties. I think I don't know if it's modular. I don't know who he's touring with. But he's doing the rockstar thing that he does. What is the history of why we chose this movie?
Because we were talking movies back and forth the other day, and I happened to mention out of nowhere, and I can't remember why we were discussing a scene about decapitation.
Me neither, but I do remember stuffing my mouth with tacos and tequila cocktails. At we went to that Mexican restaurant. We were talking.
Yeah, and then I said, oh, that reminds me. What was that film that ends with? And as I described it, we both looked at each other and we said, oh yeah, Taxidermia. And then you said, we've got to do it. And I was like, okay, that's great. This is the first time where I have been actually very super excited to do a film on this podcast because...
What the fuck? What do you mean?
like super excited. And by that, I mean, after watching this, I had a few moments where I was like, oh, I can't believe I put myself through that film again. And I watched it about 3 days ago. I'm still reading up on this film. I'm still deep diving on this film, even now through that intro. I really like having you here, George. But I was reading while all of that was being said, so your
essay,
100%.
You wrote a fucking essay. I did too. I went Pepe Silva again on this.
Pepe Silvia, this name keeps coming up over and over again. Every day, Pepe's mail's getting sent back to me. Pepe Silvia, Pepe Silvia. I look in the mail, well, this whole box is Pepe Silvia. So I say to myself, I gotta find this guy. I gotta go up to his office. I gotta put his mail in the guy's goddamn hands, otherwise he's never gonna.
Oh wow, there's even like sticky notes.
Wow, oh mate, it's a glue stick. I went back to primary school here. They've got sticky notes glued to a A4 piece of paper. It's very good. I'll put photos of this on the group as well, on the Facebook post.
It's great.
Now, we should ask our guest, what's going on? What was your first experience with this movie, George?
This is my first experience with this movie.
Yay!
I hadn't even heard of this movie, and I just from the outset, I just want to thank you guys. This was an incredible gift because not only is the movie fantastic, but it was so refreshing to come into a movie with no context at all, right? And just enjoy it with no outside. Like, it was so immersive to not know shit about, like, because I could just focus on the movie, right? Literally, there was only one name that it turned out that I knew, and it was the person who did the music to the movie, who I happened to be a big fan of, and I had no idea he was involved with the movie.
Likewise,
right?
And I didn't know either. Like,
right?
It just
like that guy. I found a song of his from a long time ago called 4 Ton Manus that I fell in love with. And you can't find it online for some reason. I was going to listen to it to get in the mood for this episode, and it's nowhere to be found. Luckily, I bought it, and I had to go through all the streaming services to figure out where the hell I bought it from. But I just love that guy, but he's the only thing I knew about this movie, right? So I just had a great time being an innocent wandering into the fields of taxidermia.
You know what? I think our listeners are just hanging for what the fuck are they talking about? We're talking about Eamon Tobin. And I got to meet him when electronica was going to the masses. It's like the equivalent of what Metallica did with the Black Album in the early 90s, in which it put heavy metal all of a sudden in the top 100, like in the top 10, actually. And then the Prodigy came along in 96. Between 95 and 97, all of a sudden, everyone was listening to stuff that you would have to go to a rave and listen to. And that's when Eamon Tobin was all over the place. Like, I remember buying, was a Bricolage, the first. I bought 2 albums by him, Bricolage and Super Modified. So then today I checked the dates, Bricolage 97, Super Modified 2000. And there's a different sound to those 2 albums, but they are electronica.
I got Out From Outwear or whatever it was called after that. And even the cover art to them were amazing, let alone the music.
I watched this movie 3 times. And the first 2 times I watched this movie was when it was released. I actually got dragged to a theater to watch this. And it was, I was in my early 20s, so I was perhaps inebriated or in a different state of mind. And all I paid attention to was the shock factor, and shame on me, because what we saw this time, at least that's what we're here to talk about. This movie in particular, it's because, and I'm glad, dude. As soon as I finished the watch, I thought, holy shit, this is grotesquely endearing to words that you cannot put together. This time around, it felt like a fable. It reminded me of the tale of the pie eating contest in Stand By Me.
Stand By Me, yeah.
Extended for like 90 minutes. So it is grotesquely disgusting. Like, it's, and yet again.
You know what's, I love that you called it that, because I didn't find it that disgusting. I found it way less disgusting than I expected to from kind of the talk you and I had, just the little bit you told me about this. And the only thing I can attribute it to is it's just so fucking beautiful.
It
right?
is.
Like, and the thing is, if a director knows where to put a camera, how to move the camera, there's a sequence in this movie that we'll get to where there's like a couple on like a mini love vacation montage. Yeah. I was looking at it and I was like, this director could do like a tourism video for Hungary, right? Like, I mean, the movie is ravishing, right? And I would rather watch a ravishing movie with disgusting things in it than a movie without disgusting things in it that just looks disgusting, like War of the Worlds, the recent one, right? Where it's just like black and blues behind Ice Cube, and then every scene outside is like Timu 9/11.
Oh my God!
With close-ups of him being like, "What?"
That's what I'm saying. Is that movie is more disgusting than Taxidermia, right? Because Taxidermia is beautiful.
It is beautiful. I mean, the way the camera moves in this just reminded me why I love this medium. I think we're starved. Like we did, you said it at the beginning of this, $2.4 million budget. This movie looks beautiful. And the way the fluid, not only that, the majority is all practical effects. And also some people have a little bit of doubt. I had to go and check how this was shot. It was shot on 35mm and on film. Because for a second I thought, holy shit, this would be really expensive. So the guy really knows what he's doing. He really knows what he's doing. Because 2.4 on analog, when you're shooting on film, you fuck up a take, you got to do it again. No, and there's a lot of artistry and a lot of skill displayed here.
He's sparing with the camera moves, right? They a lot of times it's just still. It's just normally shot. He knows exactly when to zoom the camera up or make it crawl right to left, but he's not overdoing it. It's like elegant.
Yeah. And it becomes that movement almost turns into a set piece. The passage of time is marked with a particular camera movement here that blew my fucking mind.
Yeah.
Yeah, we went from chapter 1 to chapter 2 with it.
Well, the transitions in this movie are wild.
They are fantastic. But I got a thing for Ricky here. We watched Freaky Tales. I edited like that 12 hours after we watched it, spent the entire day, and then put it out there. So in 3 days it was done. So that's also fresh for us. And we were really upset about a few things when it comes down to the execution of that movie. There's a lot of things that the filmmakers tried to do there to mark the passage of time or remark something like a connection, stitching up this pseudo anthology, and it failed miserably. This movie is quite similar in that regard. You know, you do have it is, but this is done right.
Can I just say that I watched Freaky Tales and immediately watched this film. So I actually watched Freaky Tales and I watched Freaky Tales with my wife and she said, I'm too tired now, I'm going to bed. And I said, fine. I've got a couple more hours in me. I'll just watch Taxidermia now. And I watched it from start to end that same night. And I was just sort of like, wow, I've seen an amazing film that has the same motifs and the same themes as another film. And it's done so much better and was done in 2006. And I will never watch this film with anybody ever.
Why?
I will never sit down. No, I won't. Because at the end of the day, I know my sensibility. I once tried to sit down with a couple of people and watch an uncut version of Itchy the Killer. And within 5 or 10 minutes, they turned around to me and said, can you turn this off? This is too much. And I was like, what? What's too much? What?
Okay.
Anyway, my point is that I know that I'm quite, I guess, I'm used to a lot of this imagery and I can see past it, which actually should lead to what this movie is about. So,
a quintessential question must be asked. Ricky, what is this movie about?
In Hungary, we follow 3 generations of men, a soldier, an athlete, a skillful blue-collar worker, who all 3 have social statuses, for want of a better term, are extremely low. Welcome to the world of Taxidermia. I hope you survive it.
That's not bad, man. That's not bad. Now, should we get it out of the way straight away? This movie is an allegory for the political turmoil from, World War II all the way up to the fall of communism in Hungary and then the advent of the perestroika. So we do have basically the perestroika was when, a lot of people associate that with the fall of the Berlin Wall, which, by the way, I have a little theory. The actor that plays Lajos, his name is Mark Bischoff.
Yep, Bischoff.
Yeah, he is the protagonist of the third act of this movie. And Mark Bischoff looked familiar to you guys, right? A little bit. Now, the first thing I said to Anne, who was watching this with me, I turned around and went, hey, look, it looks like Mackenzie Crook. She goes, yeah, he does look like fucking Gareth from The Office, the British Office. But then as we're doing this, without even looking, I remembered him. And then I looked him up. I remember the movie I remember him from, a movie that at some point we'll have to do on this. Although I have mixed feelings about it because I don't want my heart broken. Because I adored it. It's Tom Twyker, Run Lola Run.
Mm-hmm.
He's from Berlin. He's German. And in fact, he's the only actor, or at least the one that I noticed, because he's got several lines, that is dubbed in this. If you watch and pay close attention, you can see that it's being dubbed. So he's reciting his lines in German. So I like to think that there are 3 versions of this movie in which they kept it in German, but then it wouldn't make sense in the script to have him talk to his father in German. However, his father was an athlete, so there's English at the beginning, I think, and then there's English at the end, the narration, which comes in the form of a translator. Then we see the translator at the event at the end of the film. But I like that, and I'm pretty sure that he probably toyed with the idea of having more of that. Here, there was no choice, and I think the priority went to having a German actor from Berlin in that particular role. And why is that? Because, like I said earlier, the perestroika was allied to the rest of the world and Europe, mainly with one event, and that was the fall of the Berlin Wall. Now, there are already ties between Hungary and Germany. Obviously, this movie starts with a Nazi occupation. We see soldiers that are allies. I'm doing air quotes for listeners that can't see my little... And it's poignant. It's, this movie is an allegory for everything you see. It's an allegory for the political, like I said, turmoil. And, these were waves of desperation that hit this country over and over. And in fact, the result of all of that in current times right now is the rise of the far right again. Because this country went from, a Nazi occupation to socialism that then turned out to be full-blown communism, then came out, and capitalism hit this country like a ton of bricks. And there's another thing that you see to prove this. I didn't notice, and I'm so glad I noticed that. I hope you guys did as well. In the third act of this movie, we see the office of the lab where Laios, our protagonist, works, because he's a taxidermist. And right after, no spoilers here. This movie is unspoilable, I think. I think it's unspoilable. I think you need to experience it. There's no way we can spoil this. So yeah. I think this is a good companion for anyone that hasn't seen this movie. But right after our protagonist Laios succeeds in his endeavor to try an experiment, let's call it an experiment, and someone goes to visit him, they walk through the lab, and on the back wall, there's a poster.
Michael Jackson.
Exactly. I had to go and check a couple of things. Because the timeline is never defined in this, like an actual year is never mentioned, but there's always something in the background giving it to you. And in this instance, I had to go check when Dangerous was released, because Bad was one of the singles on that album. The album that I bought when I was a kid, by the way. We all did, I think, at some point.
Yeah,
had a copy of
sure.
Dangerous. I had to check the year of release. The year of release in Hungary for Dangerous was 1991. So we are 2 years into the perestroika, which is perfect, because you can see people handling capitalism, because it's a completely such an integral change of the fabric of society around you. It's culture shock.
The whole thing that I've read around this film is the sort of fall of the socialism, the communist era of Hungary into capitalism. After communism was championed so hard, to suddenly be like, oh, it's all completely fell through. Right, we're all capitalists. That's the main aspect of the third story. And you still have that generational abuse coming from above, being like, oh, it wasn't like this when we were growing. Oh, look at you with your Michael Jackson posters, and you with your Adidas top and stuff. If only you knew what a socialism was and what communism was. And that is what the third part of the movie is. It's a constant oppression, and that's across all 3 stories. There's a constant oppression, even when they've gotten out of World War II, even when they've gotten out of communism, there is still that oppression from previous generations pressing down on the whole community. And that's what this film is. It's
For sure.
It's an allegory around the Hungarian feelings of oppression and disappointment constantly, because they constantly were being told, this will be the new start. We'll start again. And nothing happened. We'll start again. We'll make things better. what does it matter? We're now like gorging ourselves and making ourselves fat while other people are dying because they can't afford to eat. Oh, don't worry, it'll be okay now. Like, we're not communists anymore. Oh, but now we're not only are we capitalist and everything costs like so much but we're also isolated from each other. There is no community anymore. You know, it's great.
Speaking of that, because now we're on the third act, so we'll finish this bit and go back to the beginning, right? I think that's the only way to do it. We're already jumping around. But there's one thing visually, and I think it's really surprised me. Both myself and Anna kind of looked at each other immediately going, fuck, man, it's not only like this movie's gorgeous, because what's portrayed isn't gorgeous. It's grotesque, like we said earlier. But in the third act, when he walks in, he punches a Cody and he goes through, and you see the cage. There are two cages there because he's keeping his father behind one and he's keeping the cats behind another. So it's that separation you just mentioned, Ricky.
And he has to use a keypad to go back and forth between the two sections.
Indeed. Yep. I mean, like I said, I don't think that there's anything like this movie. Maybe there is something similar in the way it tastes. Ugly Stepsister. It's a movie that had that kind of... But that's more of a morality tale, you know, a fairy tale, if you want to call it. Ricky, you seen it?
Yeah, I have. I was also going to say...
There's also an erect dick in there.
I know. Well, you know. Let's watch Caligula now.
Mate, Fight Cuts. You watch Fight Cuts or Caligula, by the way. You tell me you're not going to watch this again. Stop.
Oh, yeah.
Anyway,
well, I said that... Well, we'll go. I'll go into that later on. But I said that, and yet I was watching it again today. But anyway, there's a film later on, Excision. Excision is very close to this sort of morality tale of what society is and what's acceptable with society, as well as being grotesque, as well as being like very visceral.
Yeah, this movie is definitely its own thing. There are a couple movies. It reminded me a lot of The Cremator, but in, like you said, in flavor, right? Like The Cremator is currently at number 29 on Horrorweekly's top 100 horror movies of all time, right? So that's going to spoil what I think of Taxidermia, but that was the first movie that jumped to mind. And then obviously this movie is the Marty Supreme of competitive eating. So it's also
You know what we're doing? We're going from like the third act, we're working our way back. Let's keep doing that. we did it all the way around. It's fine.
I said upside down, you're turning me. You're giving love instinctively. Round and round, you're turning me. Upside down, boy, you turn me inside out. And round, upside down, boy, you turn me inside out.
It's a fantastic movie. Absolutely. I mean, we'll get sidetracked. It's not as much body horror as this, but it's got the same kind of like fatalism, right? The really interesting thing is like movies that some people would compare to this, I would imagine. I don't like, I've only seen this movie. I haven't done any research about it, but like Salò obviously came to my mind a little bit, right? But when you look at movies like Salò or The Cremator, they're big scale movies. Like The Cremator possibly ends in a world apocalypse. Salò is just tons of characters. This is a really quiet movie in comparison. There are very few people involved, right? And the stakes are very low. There's no societal stakes. The stakes, I mean, sure, through the allegory, but for the individuals involved, it's one tiny family who aren't even sure they're related to each other by blood, right? And only a few individuals like really fail in this movie, and then it's over, right? Usually a movie like this that's allegorical works on a really large scale with a lot of characters and really tries to, but this movie's really quiet that way. I found it weirdly relaxing because of that.
You know, I'm trying to pinpoint where this... why this flavor is so unique. Like it never exerted that level of tolerance or understanding, and that turned into full-on empathy. Like I cared about these characters. Yet again, the first protagonist of this movie, the start of this dynasty for us at least, Morz Govani, the orderly. there's a moment in which there's an implication, and it's I like that the movie didn't dwell too much on it, but it's very obvious. We see in the center of the frame, all of a sudden we see a book by Danny Schother. I know this because Anne straight away went, Scandinavian. She's Norwegian. So, and then the moment she said it, it all came back. We actually went to see a play. I'll link it in the notes because I can't remember what the name of the play was.
Yep.
It was all about Hans Christian Andersen, the play.
Yep.
And we see this book in the middle of the frame, and it's a little match girl.
Yep.
Now, you heard of the fairy tale, right?
Yeah.
Naturally.
Yeah. And the moment he touches the book, it's a pop-up book, which, by the way, that
was stunning.
It's stunning.
That was
amazing.
Unbelievably good looking.
There's a touch of CGI in that, and then it goes back into practical effects. So whenever they used, that's why we mentioned Freaky Tales and how upsetting that was. You had the practical effects that went to add fucking CGI blood. Here, there's 20 years ago, when we had less tech, right? Less capabilities of doing it right, and it looks fucking beautiful. And it's just a touch, just enough to make it work. Yeah, if it's a transition or whatever, in this case it's a transition, the pop-up book turns into the real world. So all of a sudden, this book that is a pop-up book, we see a representation of his fantasy coming to life. The problem is that at the center of that fantasy, we have the little match girl. And all of a sudden, we understand why this movie opens with what looks like self-harm, but it's not. It's fetishism, and there's a candle involved. And all of a sudden, you understand that this man has been masturbating to this book over and over again, and the central character of this book is a little girl. This gets pushed further as he grabs her hand, puts it inside this jacket, and there's implications of something very, very dark. But you know what? That somehow in the back of your head, you don't just go, oh my God. Yeah, you go, oh my God, if you realize this and if you listen to this podcast and then you watch it, but you won't dwell on it. It's a magic trick. How the fuck are you getting me to feel for these people? I don't understand.
For all the imagery of this film, that's the most troubling scene and its implications for sure. But I found it fascinating that he's hallucinating. Morris Gavney the orderly is starting to phase in and out of reality, right? He's mistaking things for other things. We're going to find that out with a pig later, right? And he's seeing things. Well, what is the story of the little match girl? Every time she lights a match in the story, she sees something on the wall that's a fantasy that's not real, right? Like it's in sync with what's happening in the movie, but it's also super troubling as well.
Well, also he's as I said, the earlier motif that I was speaking about, he's been drafted into a war, and the war would have been, he's got a cleft lip. That could have been from birth, that could have been from a war trauma situation, but he's now been situated from a war where he's not in a war. He's on the outskirts of the war. He's taking care of a lieutenant's family.
He's being exploited.
He's being exploited. He is nothing but a farmhand, and he gets exploited from start to end.
I also have the little theory that he has an intellectual disability. So that's why someone is exploiting him to this point. And I think that that's the allegory for a nation that has been taken for a ride and exploited. Because that alliance was pushed onto the public, as you just had no option. And that's the way I think the population felt.
There's a call response scene where he's listing out his duties, and it goes longer than you'd expect. It's almost hypnotic. Yeah, for sure. Yeah. And it's brutal. Like when you see what his day-to-day is, I don't know how you wouldn't have empathy.
He does everything, and not only that, but it's been explored in that way. So, as like you said, Ricky, as a farmhand, all trivial menial tasks, he does everything. You said that he was hallucinating, and I have a theory, and that theory stands on the fact that those flashes that you get while he's having sex with turns out to be, I think what we're getting is what he's doing that day. That day, he's having sex with a bathtub full of pig's remains, right? Offal, or whatever it is, like the discarded parts of the pig. But he gets all these flashes, and I think those flashes are actual flashbacks of each and every person in that house using him sexually. And in fact, one of the results of those, sessions, if you want to call them that, I think it was Irma, but he's being fucked by everybody in that house. That's the thing. So it's being used at every level.
I would say probably more metaphorically, like that's why
No.
that scene happens. That's what I would suggest, because what I find very fascinating about his story is that he has been put into a scenario where he's not being fed well. He's being left outside to the elements. Like there's snow at one point. He's being left outside to the elements. He's not even really allowed to wash himself. He's not allowed to do anything. He probably has syphilis from the amount of times he sticks his dick into random things. So, you know, I think he's gotten to a point where his fantasy world is his real world.
Well, there's the implication that he's Kalman's father, hence why the pigtail. The pigtail is because he kept having sex over the offal. That's the implication here. So there's,
but that's where I personally, when I first watched this film, I actually didn't. I thought that him having sex with the pig was him thinking that he was having sex with anybody else, like everybody else, because that's the situation he got into. So I was really confused when she gave birth, and then we were following the news story, because I was like, but did he have sex with the pig, or did he have sex? That was the only little bit of disconnect in the whole story arc.
I feel like it has to be ambiguous because it happens twice, right? And I feel like that's on purpose, because the speed eater doesn't know if his child is his either.
Yes.
Oh, that's another thing. Yeah, that's true. But he gets killed. He gets killed in such a fucking brutal manner. Morsgovani.
Can I throw two really quick small things at you guys, because I'm really fascinated what you thought of them, if you noticed them. There's a really quiet scene at the beginning of this movie where the orderly is chopping wood, right? And he's being
tension. Oh my God.
And he's being terrorized by the lieutenant. As a matter of fact, the lieutenant, the first time we see him in this movie, he looms out of the fog like he's fucking Nosferatu, right? But like, so the order,
and he's dick out. He's naked and vulnerable.
My God. And the look of fear on Morskovny's face is incredible. But anyway, so the chopping wood scene is happening, right? And Ricky said something really interesting. He was talking about how this is a metaphor for things not paying off, promises not paying off. Like capitalism is going to take us to the next level, and it doesn't, right? Well, there's not a lot of drama in this movie, and a lot of times when drama is promised, it doesn't pay off either. And I think it gives the movie a really unique tone, right? So the guy's chopping wood, and he's been told, we're terrified for him, because he's been told, you are not allowed to peep through windows or look at girls. That's the only thing you can't do. And if you do it, I'm going to shoot your mouth off, right? That's the punishment. So now this guy's chopping wood. The lieutenant goes on this ridiculous discourse about his theory about what runs the world. It's an absurd, right? Like speech. And while he's giving his deluded speech, the orderly's full on peeping right behind him the whole time, right? And it's like a visual magic trick, because you're scared for this guy. You're like, we're about to see this guy die. And then the lieutenant turns around, and it's like he was never looking through the window. He's just innocently holding the pieces of wood, right? And I'm like, this guy doesn't even seem smart enough to pull that off. And then I realized what was happening. What was happening was he's so familiar with listening to these ridiculous speeches every day of his life. He knows the inflection of the lieutenant's voice that gives away when he's going to turn around, right? Like he's that familiar with this horrible situation. But all the drama of what I thought was going to be a jump scare just like effervesced into the air into nothing. He turned around, and the guy was just like, innocently whistling and whatever, right? I mean, what did you think of that? I felt like it was an amazing sequence.
Agreed. And also, it just reminded me of, what is that Argentinian movie that, it's the second movie from the guy that did Terrified. Oh my God.
Oh, When Evil Lurks.
When Evil Lurks. There's that kind of tension, or like if you could grab the essence of that and throw it, part of the scene that you just described, because myself and Anna, we were both, oh no, something like every time the axe came down, I was just, I just thought it's going to take, because those shots are there for a reason, right? You're meant to feel that. But hey, that entire speech you talked about starts with what's possibly my favorite line of this movie, which is really, it's just because it reminded me
There's
of
no
Mickey
way
Rourke.
this is your favorite line, because there's
Well,
got to
it-
be a line that's.
But,
go ahead.
it's how he opens. It's how he opens, right? Because he's
Okay.
trying to put gravitas into it. And it reminded me of the speech that Mickey Rourke does in Spawn. Because it opens with, the cunt is still the common denominator. As in,
Yes.
this is how I'm going to
Yes.
grab your attention.
That's a good line, but this is a movie that contains the line, I had a vomiting technique named after me. So there's no way.
that is
no way.
the line.
There's
That is
no
the
way
line.
in hell
Or-
that is not the best
or-
line in this movie.
Another one which comes in, I believe, the same scene, which is, I can increase the amount of chocolate I eat if I keep the wrapper on.
Fuck,
All right,
man.
we're chronologically. I didn't want to take us off track. We're not chronologically there yet, but I'm just
We're
saying
not going to do it chronologically. This is more fun, to be honest.
the vomiting technique line is immortality. There's no way. But
Yeah.
anyway, I just also wanted to point out that we only see Morris Gobney smile one time in the entire movie. Right.
Yeah.
Right.
We have feeling for who allegedly this guy's also a pedophile, and yet we're feeling for him. And that's what this movie's doing.
But I don't
Fucking-
think it's so much feeling for the guy, because the guy is
Dito. I felt sorry for. No, it
no,
wasn't even
I
pity.
understand, but I think
Wasn't even
you're just
pity,
he's a placeholder. You would feel for anyone in his predicament. You're not really feeling for his particular characteristics.
Don't tell me how to feel.
I mean, if you want to feel for this guy, feel free. But I'm just saying, he's got some problematic issues.
Well, you guys are saying that like he is a suspected pederast, but is it that he is so deprived of even any human affection that everything makes him horny? Like literally,
I know,
he's
but you
just one
just
of those
described
people.
priesthood.
Well, yeah,
That's-
I mean, so
yeah.
we're saying he's a priest. He's godly. He's as close to. I mean, is that why he ejaculates into the stars? That he's that
Jesus
close to
fucking
God?
Christ.
Yeah, so I just want to point
I
out
want an
there
action
is a-
figure, man. I want an action figure of Morris Gobani. Yeah. We should have like a cake topper of Morris Gobani with the fucking. You were saying
There is
sorry.
a really interesting thing going on where this guy is always freezing his cold. His house is terrible. It's right next to a way better house, right? And the only time we see him smiling is when he's basically jetting fire, right? So he a lot of this has to do with he's always freezing, and anything that brings warmth makes him feel better, right? And the lieutenant, notice, is always smoking in front of this guy, right? So he's always got a nice warm fire in his mouth. The poor Morris Gobney's got nothing, right? He's always freezing. And when he gets a candle, he's almost like erotic with the candle, right?
Yes.
So anytime there's any warmth involved at all, the little match girl represents warmth, right? So anytime any warmth comes into this guy's life, I think he is drawn to it.
There's also, we were talking about similarities. I think because I'm really struggling to do so now. It's like a little mission, but perhaps this movie does what it does, and that's a good thing, right? Because for a moment I even thought of Delicatessen, which is one of my favorite Julien Caro movies, but Delicatessen is more like a vignette. And also, if you see something grotesque, it's more comedic. So we're going to the other side here. At the end of Delicatessen, if you remember something, you remember these like comic panels, extremely whimsical. Even if they're grotesque, it's grotesque mixed with whimsy. It's a different flavor.
Yeah.
So I can't go there. Maybe the
No,
color
it's
palette at times, but
totally different. I thought of
Yeah.
the Cook, the Thief, his wife, and her lover, but it's
That's
is-
grim.
this
That's
is just
grotesque and
different.
grim.
yeah.
This is different. It is different.
And I think the reason we're finding it difficult is the bathtub scene. Okay, the bathtub
God.
scene where he's basically taking in the aroma of the girls who have just washed themselves. but it turns into
What is he doing? He's
he's
taking
taking
the
it
aroma.
in. Nom, 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 nom.
Can I tell you, before you continue,
Right.
because we are on that, this movie is prophetic. It predicted people buying bathtub water on the internet.
Yeah, exactly.
It predicted mukbangs on
Yep.
YouTube. And the return, there's a phrase from you called him an athlete. There's a phrase from him
Yeah.
going, you just wait until like competitive eating becomes popular again.
And it
guess
did.
what?
It did.
He was right.
Yeah. But
And it might have
bar-
also influenced Saltburn. But good.
oh yeah,
Oh,
yeah,
shit.
for sure.
Okay.
But when you've got the bath, it's easy just to be like, oh, look at this fetish he's suddenly like exhibiting. But then it actually goes through the life of the bath. It goes through every aspect that the bath has been through, which is preparing the audience that this movie is going to take you generationally through whatever, the sperm of this person going into this person, going into this person. And it's done so beautifully
But
because
it's a circle of life, right?
the director sort of prepares you that you're about to learn about other people and their life and their connections within their lives, even though these are despicable people, they're grotesque people. And what I was previously saying about like lies or being disappointed, in the first story, when he's talking to the pig, and he's like saying, you're going to grow up, you're going to be beautiful, just get bigger, or your job is to get bigger, and then sings that beautiful, like, weird child lullaby, and then it's followed by the scene of him gutting the pig. There's the disappointment. There's the aspect of, like, there's constant lies. There's lies coming from all sectors. And from that, I think we need to talk about the lies of the second story.
Just real quick, because he tells that pig, your job is to get bigger, and watch what happens in the second story. Right?
Exactly.
The eater's job is to get bigger, and he hates his son because he's not huge. Right?
Mhm.
Like that guy whispering like echoes through the whole rest of the movie, saying your job is just to get bigger, is like the through line of everything that happens after that. It's amazing.
We are introduced to the world of competitive eating in, I think it's 1969 or something like that, 10 or 70s almost. We're on the edge. And we meet Carmen and Gizzy. There's a scene in this that broke my heart, and at the same time I laughed. The love of his life all of a sudden gets fucked by his teammate outside at their wedding, and he's inside singing a fucking song.
Oh,
Singing. Can I just say singing beautifully, by the way. He has an amazing voice.
Yes.
Morris Gumney was the worst singer in history, but this guy is, yeah.
But it's so fucking funny because it's so sad. And at one point, you can see the camera moves. The way the camera moves, it's poetic. It's so fluid. It feels organically. All the transitions are organic. You just go, even we didn't talk about the transition. Like, it's like the circular motion. We get a taste of it when we see the circle of life. I want to be a fly on the wall on that set when they did that, because that's practical. Yeah.
Yeah.
And then when we see it, it's one of the best. It reminded me of what we used to do in the 90s, like that type of innovation. And when even someone like Guy Ritchie was innovative, I remember the way we were given one of the greatest transitions of the 90s. It didn't date as well, but it's when Dennis Farina goes, "Oh, really, London?" He puts the phone down. It's in Lock, Stock, and Two Smoking Barrels. Or is it Snatch?
No, it's
I think it's in Snatch.
Snatch.
And he slam the phone down, and we see him travel. We see travel. We see him going from where he is to London, and it's like bang, bang, bang. You know what I mean? So it's done differently, but it's a good transition. And it felt like, whoa, I haven't seen this in a while. You know what I mean? You got a taste of that innovation we got in Pulp Fiction at the beginning of the 90s. And here, it's done in like that sequence. Now, if we tell other people like we're doing now, it would feel as long as the sequence that I remember was 10 seconds long, and it's 2 seconds long in Jaws.
Yeah.
One of my favorite dolly zoom shots of all time, which is Chief Brody on the beach, and it's basically surprise. It's the camera pulling away and zooming in at the same time. It's super short. It's like 2 seconds. And that transition is even shorter than the one that we're talking about now. But it's how we're going from what is it, 1940 something, all the way to 1969 and it's fucking.
But we have this beautiful transition that ends up with a guy taking someone from behind and screaming Norway over and over again. Like, this movie is such a weird tone, right? Like, you have a
is Norwegian. She's sitting next to me
while he's like putting chips in his face at the same time. Norway,
mate. And it's also though the way the camera moves from inside. He's singing this beautiful love song or whatever. So melancholic already. It's the day of their wedding, and he's singing about losing the love of his life.
Mm-hmm.
And the camera moves slowly to the window, and it's a frosted window, so we're getting closer and closer. And what you see is the sweetest expression of love on her face, but she's being fucked in the ass.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
It's fucking, oh my God.
But also in the same, so
what has Norway done to Hungary, dude? We need to check that bit of history.
Well, we're talking about Kalman, and we're talking about his story where he is a professional eater. And again, it is somebody who, even though he is privileged and he's part of a prestigious event, he's a part of a stadium event, he's an athlete, and yet he is runner-up. He is second, maybe third best, and he blows it. He blows it on the biggest day because of lockjaw, and he ends up in hospital, and he loses out on it. It's such a sad tale, because even though it's the most grotesque thing to watch, because they are just eating soup or goulash or whatever, and then they have to eat this like big lardish block of stuff. In between, they have to throw it all up just to get onto the next stage. But it's just so sad that it's lockjaw that stops him, that ends him in hospital, and he can't go to Norway. He's not allowed.
They're saying it's
and
lockjaw, but then when
that hospital scene is some of the funniest shit I've ever seen.
It is. It's the actor that plays Bella, by the way, his name is Zoltan Kopani. I'm going to look because he's fucking hilarious. He's a quintessential douchebag. He fucking comes into the hospital room like a complete asshole, chewing. He's always chewing. Mm-hmm. Even when he's not competing. Have you noticed in every scene he's fucking, even when he's taking it from behind, he's fucking chewing. When he comes in, he's fucking chewing. It's just his life. Now, about that hospital sequence, we do see that he's got, like, they stitched him up. Mm-hmm. So it's lockjaw, but I mean, they assume that it's lockjaw. I think he's had a major heart attack, right? Because he's got a massive scar in the center of his chest all of a sudden. Yeah. No,
and
is it?
He's also has that
they
moment.
They might have had to extract the spoon.
Oh, yeah, maybe. But when he's got the lockjaw, he is so stressed out. He's like turning purple because maybe he's not breathing or something. So maybe one of his lungs collapsed. There's so much that we don't. The one thing I would say about this film that did annoy me was there are a few moments where you don't get any information of how things happen. We're going to talk about towards the end. There's a very magical scene that I would have loved to know the ins and outs of, which is transportation of a grossly large body. And we don't know how it happens. We have no idea how it happens, but it happens.
But is it possible that it happened there over time?
Who knows? But,
well, that's why he went to the gym. He needed big muscles to lift his dad.
Yeah, to lift up.
Oh, well, that's true. Well, he keeps sending. When we are introduced to Laios, is on his daily routine, what he needs to do, and some of the stuff that he needs to do, like mostly, is stuff that he needs to do for his father. Mm. So I assume that over time, eating 15 kilograms of which. He feeds it to his father. He feeds it to the cats. Those cats, man, they look so angry
all the time.
I actually always I've got this thing. People are gonna hate me for it, but Anne gets upset whenever we send the pictures of obese animals, like pets. But yeah, there's a part of me that goes, "Oh man, I'm gonna fucking overfeed the ferrets without not knowing," because I want my pets to be fatter. I know it's bad for them. I want a chunky pet. You know what I mean? It's bad for them, but yeah. So I actually it's a threat in the house. I was going, I'm gonna overfeed the ferrets. She leaves the house. Anyway, in regards to Laios, right? The movie opens with him in that supermarket, and we meet. It's clear that he's got a crush on this girl behind the counter, but he doesn't say anything. And the disappointment. It's like a couple of frames, but we see the disappointment when all of a sudden he goes back to the supermarket and she isn't there.
Mm. It's really sad because it's a transition. The first one, he's really hopeful. The second time he goes, she's there, but he looks defeated because he knows she's not going to respond to him. And then the third time he goes, it's another clerk, and he's already wiped out mentally and emotionally by that point, right? So it's like a journey of disappointment.
Yeah.
Man, when he's in the gym and he's grimacing, it increasingly more and more, I saw myself that I fucking hate the gym. I hate to repeat. I saw myself going, "Argh!" I said, Tana, he doesn't want to be there. Like, fucking, I get it. I fucking get it.
But hold on. Hold on. I'm sorry. We jumped ahead. I just can't leave alone this speed eating athlete. This was so accurate to like athletes. He's yelling through the whole movie, "I'm a world star." Like Aaron Rodgers is going to be this guy in 10 years, right? Like there are so many athletes that just can't let go of the glory, the peak, whatever. And he's like, he's an actual athlete. It's fucking amazing the way he's watching old films. He's watching like performances of current speed eaters. He's seeing his ex-wife coaching the American speed eating team on his TV. I mean, his journey is insane.
You know what? This movie is an allegory for so many things, but I actually now I'm a little bit scared because it remarks something that every once in a while I think about. When as a society, we get to this like hedonistic extremes or things that just don't seem right. It's the apex. And then there's the decline. The Roman Empire went that way. Socialism went that way. Communism went that way. And the thing is, we are getting to those extremes now. People are entertained by slap competitions. Like people, have you seen it? Have you seen the reels on Facebook?
Yeah.
And like speed eating and stuff like this.
I'm one of those people.
It's just those extremes of idiocy usually are at the end. When you get the portrayal of Nazi Germany and you get like shots of parties or whatever and they were super fucking disturbing. We are there. So I think hopefully we're at the end of this one as well. I mean, I just don't want to know how
what do you
it
think
ends.
The Masked Singer is like. How is that entertaining? My kids love it though.
I mean, what was that show? The Swan? They were doing like plastic surgery.
The Swan. That was like as well, and that was like a decade and a half ago, and yet everyone seemed to love it anyway.
We're there, man. We're there.
But about the speed eating, what do you think? Now I keep picking little scenes out of this film, but what did you think about the training of younger speed eaters?
Dude,
that scene was amazing.
But you know what? It feels like a flashback. It was amazing. And I thought it was a flashback at the beginning. I thought, I was confused a little bit. I thought, wait a second, have we seen... Because it goes from a conversation with him, we get to this, there's a new setting. We're in what it looks like a factory, right? Because that's what it is, by the way. That's why it looks like that. It's a factory. Yeah. And then the trough, right? Trough, how do you pronounce it?
Yeah, trough.
Trough. Yeah. Trough.
Yep.
Trough.
Trough.
And we see this, so it's the next generation, right? So you go from thinking, or at least I went from thinking it's a flashback, but it kind of is, right? But it's not. It's a window into this machine that keeps creating this. Yes.
They're training the next set of athletes, right? And just real quick, no one in cinema history has ever been worse at their job, I maintain, than the guy who distributes cocoa powder on top of this.
Yeah, he's fucking tossing and missing the throat.
I mean, all he's doing is throwing one big mountain of cocoa powder in front of every fourth kid. I felt so bad for whoever was in front of this.
They probably gave him direction, telling him, do it like you're feeding chickens. It's like it's that way of just like you're feeding farm animals. But anyway, it's the way the camera moves. I had to rewind it. Like, no surprise to anybody. A 90-minute movie in this house is 4 hours because I'm fucking taking notes. But anyway, the mystery fucking... No, anyway. So there's the moment in which that sequence starts, and then there's a couple cuts, but then it's one continuous shot. So you go all the way around the factory and through the window, and we go into him training again. And that's
Amazing.
why but until then, I thought this was a flashback. I was trying to place it in time. I was looking at the settings, like technology perhaps, and like, okay, we're going back 20 years. It's like, no, okay, it's not that. And then I got confirmation as we get through the window of the office in the factory. Yeah. And that's when he's being given a pep talk. And it's like that goes back to what you were talking about earlier.
That's a straight up fucking scene from Rocky.
Like the guy says, you're gonna eat lightning and you're gonna crap thunder.
It is.
Yes.
That pep talk scene is a scene from Rocky.
It totally
It's
is.
100% a Rocky butt scene. I'm
You
telling
gotta eat lightning and shit thunder, but a lot of lightning.
See, Rocky, you gotta go on your right foot and your left foot, and then you shove it in your mouth.
And then when he tells the story about how he had it, and he goes, I remember when I could use what I had to do to eat the liquefy the chocolate, to eat more of it. I'm thinking, fuck, man, this is not good advice.
And the coach is like,
It's not good advice for anybody.
Then there's the amazing love montage, which was just mind blowing. Right.
And I'm glad that you went there, because it reminded me, and I think I'd love to have a conversation with the director. Then you described the sequence, but from a visual standpoint, or the artistic direction of the way everything looked, have you heard of an artist called Fernando Botero?
No.
If you haven't, I'm going to ask you, and our listeners while listening to this, open a tab on your browser, please. You too, George.
Fernando.
Got it.
What's
And type in Fernando Botero.
Botel.
He's Colombian.
Yep.
And look at his art.
I'm looking at his face at the moment. Wow.
He's wonderful. Wonderful.
Wow.
Now look at the ones of couples together, of families.
Sorry,
It's
I'm stuck
fascinating.
on this fascinating one where this large gentleman is on top of a roof
Mhm.
and someone's trying to get him to come down, but he's quite large as well with the,
Yeah,
I
yeah,
guess,
yeah,
the
yeah.
wife as well. Oh,
Oh,
no, he's on
wow.
top of the roof with a gun.
Mate, just spend time looking at his artwork. He's phenomenal. He
Yeah, that
died
looks
to-
real familiar.
Yeah,
Wow.
he passed 3 years ago. So he's Colombian. Somehow it was very popular in the 80s and the 90s. And he exploded, basically. If you look at all of it, it's quite endearing, quite sweet. There's never, I think it's subjectively you apply whatever you want to his art, but he's got that style. Fernando Botero.
Yeah, and I mean, it's sweetness. Sweetness makes sense because I think the sweetest, if I had to, what's the sweetest scene in the movie? Like, what's the most genuinely human, emotional scene? And I feel like it's when they're eating out of the Soviet Star the caviar.
The caviar.
And Balatoney knows his wife is struggling, and you watch him sneak his spoon over onto her side. He's trying to not just eat the portion in front of him, but he's trying to eat her portion to try to take some of the pressure off her, right? Because I could be wrong. I don't know shit about this movie, but I feel like it's hinted that the son, the taxidermist, comes out really thin and pale and vampire looking, whatever, because his mother, something went wrong, right? She abused herself while she was pregnant. Right. And she was pushing herself, and they told her you can only eat vegetables. And here she is slurping down caviar. Right. For the authorities on the boat. Right. Talk about
Mate,
allegory.
one of the emissaries next to the Russian dude, she's got this expression on her face every time she's on screen. She's like, it's fucking great. She should be credited because she appears 2 or 3 times and she's got the same expression on her face.
I just felt so bad for Balatoney because obviously their marriage did not work out. But
Yeah.
he's
What a shame,
not a great. Obviously, he turns out to be a fucking horrible dad. But
Yeah,
he was really trying to protect his wife there for a minute. It was kind of sweet.
Also in that scene with the Tsar, whatever that commissioner was.
I think he's like an ambassador of some kind.
Yeah.
A Russian ambassador.
He had another lackey who just kept saying half sentences to him while staring into his face this far.
Like an advisor,
open.
yeah.
Oh,
yeah.
But it
Yeah.
wasn't an advisor. It was just somebody who was a yes man, but a yes woman,
I love caviar. All right. I fucking love caviar. But the thing is, I love caviar. I love anything like oysters, anything some people have. I go for it. Usually. And in that instance, I turn around Tana who doesn't like caviar. And it was the opposite of the love glances these two give each other. Because as they're going with it, I kept looking at her and I go,
Was it like Pedro Pascal in that Nicolas Cage film where they're driving on
Fucking
acid?
Yeah, pretty much. But they were, we were talking about the sweetness between these two. There's a moment, it's the glances. There's a lot of nuance in a movie you mentioned the word brutalism earlier. It's the contrast. It's like a fucking Takeshi Kitano movie in which we go from super sweet to super violent. It's that contrast here. And somehow it's not even. It's more harmonious than that, you know. So it's not about the contrast. It's about the flavor. There's an essence to this man's work.
Yeah.
And in fact, when we finish this, maybe one of these days, you know, he's made a movie recently called Hen. I just looked at the poster, and I'm gonna try and do what I did with this one, which is walking blind, walking cold, whatever the fuck you want to call it.
Yeah.
So maybe we'll meet again.
The
for that
plot
one.
to that
Yeah?
sounds amazing. I did see that.
You,
and it's
you read
really
it already?
interesting. I read the
Okay.
plot. Yeah, for sure.
Okay. In regards to Kaman and Gizi, right? Like, I would have liked to see what happened to Gizi. We don't know if she died. We don't know if she left him. I mean, at least I missed out on that.
Oh wait, so
We know.
let me fill in on that one. You know, so this comes off in the Laios story. Laios story, and it is that when he's watching the Speed Eaters, there's a pan to his wife. His wife has now become an advisor to the American Speed Eaters.
Shit.
Yeah.
And,
she's
and you
cheated.
know what?
Fucking
And you know what
God.
really?
She's gone with
you know what
another
really
dude.
sucks about? You know what really sucks about that scene is she's cheering their names, the American names. And remember, the first time we meet her, she's yelling Carmen's name. She's rooting for the Hungarians at the first speed eating scene. And that's the first time we see her. She's rooting for him. He's trying to please her so hard he gets lockjaw. And the last time we see her, she's shouting some other guy's name, like
I
rooting
think she
for
represents
him.
immigration. She represents immigration. Then she represents what happened to a lot of people after the perestroika that moved away,
Sure.
Yeah.
moved to a capitalistic country, and that's I get it now. Like, you're fucking hell, man. How did I miss it?
Yeah.
Anyway, whatever.
But so we're coming towards the end, and I think let's not. We've been loving this film, but let's not sugarcoat this film anymore. There is so much intestines. There's so much offal. There's so much vomit. There's so much just fluids in the wrong place. And this does end with a very visceral scene of taxidermy. And this is one of those movies that, as I said, you know, there's going to be certain people who will just hear some of this or see the first 5 minutes or see the first 10 minutes and go, nope, this isn't a movie for me. But please be one of us for once. Be one of us and just
One of us.
Google gobble.
Google gobble. And get to the end of this film, because what we find at the end of this film is the same message. Laios does perform taxidermy on himself and does get to a point where he becomes a statued corpse. And his body is found and he is sold basically at auction. So he doesn't even get to, he does something that is defiant and is trying to put a mark on his own life. And he's trying to make a statement with his final breath or whatever. And yet a capitalist person comes along and redefines and relabels his work. And that is this story. This story is
just like Michelangelo's David ended up at the Louvre to sell tickets, right?
Exactly. And it's one of those things where you watch this film and by the end of it, you go, wow, disappointment or promises that never fulfill themselves. And again, as George said, what was whispered to the pig in the first story gets echoed over and over again. You just need to do this for me. That's all your job needs to be. You just need to do this. And guess what? It's not. I also found it really strange that the final, I'm going to call him an antagonist, the final person who gets Laios's corpse, he initially went in there to get an embalming of a fetus.
Yep.
It's crazy because
Which apparently ends up as a keychain.
It's a keychain. And it's a key. So it's another just capitalist moniker of value of just I own this.
And his entrance into the movie, but his costuming is amazing. But his entrance in the movie leads to what I think is the darkest joke in the whole movie, right? Like, he comes in and he's like, I have something I need taxidermied. And Laios asks him, wild or domestic? And he goes, I don't know. Domestic, I guess. Right? And when you think about what that's referring to, it is the most evil joke you could make. right?
Yes.
Like that's dark stuff.
I mean, there's also like the idea that capitalism swooped in to a point in which all old values, everything that it was Hungary as people knew it, is up for sale, including them.
Sure.
You know, but there's one thing that I kept thinking about. I don't know if you guys remember this. I don't know what happened to that, by the way. This movie made me think towards the end of the third act. I kept thinking of Gunther von Hagen. I am reading his name because I don't know how the fuck. I think I put this at the back of my. I got tickets for this exhibition. You look at Gunther von Hagen. There was an exhibition called Bodyworks.
Yes.
And yes.
Oh, yeah,
and it was in
yeah.
London. Yeah. We went twice, they took me. And twice I went, I don't get it. We went with different groups of friends every time. And I don't know why. Maybe because it was a Sunday and we were still partying. This is like a decade and a half ago. So my stomach was a little on the delicate side. So on a Sunday morning, going through an entire exhibition, seeing human bodies was not what I wanted. You know, and on top of that, like the hot lights on top of it, a lot of people I remember, and then this grotesque kind of thing. And every time we did this, it left me confused for 7 to 10 days, over a week, man. This thing was out to shake because you just kept thinking about, you know, questioning certain values, and I felt old. Like one of them is like, oh, is it all right to desecrate a body? Stuff that fucking went through my head. You know, and then I was thinking about consent, and apparently this guy did everything by the book. But still, there's a morbidity to it, and I brought my own moralism every time that I didn't think I had, every time I was exposed to it. You know what I mean? And this movie kind of, when we got to that part of the film, it reminded me, and by the way, the process... Because Anna was saying plastification, it's called plastination. That's and that's what I thought this conversation sparked, because we saw it on screen, and I said, "What's he doing? Is he like embalming himself? Is he stuffing himself?" But there's fluid going in, and that's when I thought of this guy. So we'll put a link in the comments of for this episode for Dr. Von Hagen's works.
I went to Body Worlds when I was in Amsterdam. Probably the wrong choice because, you know,
Oh, fuck,
I
you
probably
stoned
wasn't.
as well.
Anyway, but it's funny you've mentioned that, because that was the part of the exhibition that I couldn't get my head around or agree with for the same reason, which was the fetuses at different stages. And again, this film has something similar to that. And I'm like you, I couldn't understand like the legal ramifications around that or anything.
You see, but that, I don't like it. There's the punk nihilistic side of my head that is like, fucking nothing matters. And all of a sudden that is like, old man comes in going, no, shouldn't be doing this. No, I don't like it though. As I grow older, the old man is more all around me.
Which,
you know,
which
always
old man
here.
I'm going to ask George, which old man would you rather be? The slightly empathetic one or the one that's saying, get off my lawn?
But you see?
Yeah.
It's empathy then. It's
Definitely the first.
No. I'm the old man that was fucked the lawn. You know what I mean? Like, it's not get off it. It's like, you don't fucking need the lawn, you know, like, fucking,
Yeah,
No,
so you're becoming a hippie. That's okay.
But that's dying. The old man is dying. I don't want him to die. I don't want him to die, man. I don't want to fucking go from that to hugging fucking trees. I don't want to do that.
There's a museum of death in Los Angeles that has a
Museum of
similar
death. You been there?
I've been there.
So it's a similar effect to the body exhibition, right? Like it feels interesting and worthwhile, and then also exploitative.
What's it called? Museum of Death.
Yep. I went in there and we had to leave quickly. Basically, there was a few areas and images that the people I was with couldn't handle, and it was a hot day in LA. We had only been in LA for about 2 days, so we still was suffering from jet lag. But yeah, that, on the second day, I was like, Museum of Death. Because I wanted to see the murderers, like John Wayne Gacy's like written notes. I wanted to see all of that stuff. But there was a few things, like things in jars or images of decaying bodies that killers had taken.
That's what I'm saying.
Distasteful.
Right.
You found them distasteful. I get it.
Well, not only distasteful, but actually physically affecting. That's what some of the people I was with found. And I
want
think
that fucking beanie. Look at the beanie they sell on their website.
of
That's
what
really cool.
Bodyworks.
Yeah, no, Museum of Death.
Yeah,
I just want that beanie. Look, you like that beanie, Ricky. Take a look.
I know.
We're gonna send money to you, George. How much does it cost to pass stuff to Europe now? Fucking this prick. You know who the prick is. So we're not going to talk about him. We're not going to talk about him.
Speaking of old men
and his tariffs, we're not going to talk about him.
Yeah.
No.
So coming back to this film, the prosthetic budget is amazing. And you can see it almost all in one room in the final scene. You've got his father with cats coming out of him.
Are you talking about the exhibition?
Oh, the exhibition is beautiful. Again, there's so much beauty in this grotesque, awful film that, and yet, yeah, I loved the slow zoom in, pan in, and again, I still wonder at the scene where he does finally decapitates himself. Removes himself off this plane and removes an arm, because I still can't see the seam. I can't see where the CGI is or where the actor disappears.
Yeah.
I can't see it. I cannot see the seam. It is done so well.
Yeah, it's we're gonna follow this guy.
Before we wrap up, there's two things it would be criminal to miss, right? So there's eating the candy wrapper bars without taking the wrappers off them.
Yeah,
which is just a legendary
more than with the wrapper.
Yeah, it's a legendary move, right? But you know what's funny with this movie is even when you're hearing something that seems like almost like a cruel joke, or like you could be like, this character is absurd, he hits you with something philosophical afterwards, right? Like the son's like, where do the wrappers go? And he's like, I've never eaten something that my body wasn't able to absorb. Like it becomes what it's meant to become in my body.
There's fucking pride in his voice. There's pride in his voice when he's saying that.
Yes, it's 100% pride in his voice. Yeah. And he said earlier, like when he was giving his origin story as a speed eater, he said something like, I realized I had spaces inside of me. Right. I realized I had spaces that were special, that could get bigger. Right. And so it's almost mystical, but it's told around a disgusting joke. Right. Because him eating the candy, him looking at his son dead in his eye and being like, watch this. He's just pound. Oh my God.
It's also like giving like a practical quality to essentially what emotional eating is. It's like it's justifying it. Like the void.
Yes.
You're feeling the void, if it's for a new purpose. No. But anyway, open up another tab, and type in, I'm going to ask our listeners to do the same. Type in Liga margarine, however you want to spell it, but spell Liga L-I-G-A. L-I-G-A.
I'm terrified. Yeah, I saw the word on the wrapper, on the thing they're feeding the cats.
No, you didn't.
Right?
What you did see was Riga margarine. But what they did that because they're taking the piece out of a staple. So Liga, apparently, if you look at it, is an Hungarian brand, the equivalent of, and this is during communism, right? Like, so when you didn't have that much choice. So I think what that wall of Liga is Riga, well, they called it Riga, right? But it's also representing the transition from communism to capitalism. If you remember, there's been 1,000 movies. What was the name of that movie with, which is, I'm curious to go back to it because it's like a cartoonish envisioning of what a Russian was before the perestroika. It's about Robin Williams going to America, and it's a comedy drama, but what was it called? You remember a movie with Robin Williams? No, he played a
Jacob
Russian.
the Liar?
No, mate. No. So type in Russian.
Moscow on the Hudson.
That's the one. Moscow on the Hudson.
Right.
Yeah. And there's a few sequences that are like that. Like the contrast of him going to a supermarket or whatever and seeing all this going from, like a government endorsed brand to all of a sudden all this choice. It's a lot.
I'm going to have to check that out. I haven't seen that. Yeah.
look, it's equivalent to the way we feel now. We always talk about the experience of going to the video store and having already enough choice. And now you fucking sit in front of one of the streaming services and there's so much and you can't choose anything. It's confusing. Well, imagine that, but you're doing the groceries, and it's the first time you feel that way.
That's interesting. And that margarine was visually troubling, as were the Jurassic cats.
Jurassic Cats. It's another great name for a band, mate.
The Jurassic Cats, they were probably the only thing in this film where I was like, look at that CGI, but it's amazing. I love how big those cats were.
Yeah.
They were pretty incredible. Before we wrapped it, I just want to, the weirdo fetus character. So first of all, his immediate mental jump to commodify this body and move it to the museum is interesting to me, right? But also he says something pretty enigmatic at the end where he says, he's talking about mounting like a taxidermist would. And he's like, you can mount your body, you could mount your family, you could mount, and by the way, Ballatoni looks incredible taxidermy. That guy was a skilled taxidermist. Right? So he's like, you can mount this, you can mount everything, but he's like, you can't mount the feeling this guy had when the blade was right next to his neck and it was about to strike. That's a feeling that you can't mount, right? And I just found that really interesting because part of it's like 1/3 art house pretentious, right? But like possibly 1/3 to 2/3 meaningful with like, yeah. So I don't know if you guys caught, because it's literally the last words of the movie, right? And I couldn't get a fix on what exactly it meant. I have a theory, but I'm not sure of it.
This movie did something practical for me today that it will serve me well, because I do have some Hungarian friends. In fact, in about 15 minutes, one of them will come through that door because it's game day, and I have Peter Molnar. He's Hungarian through and through, not just Hungarian descent. Yeah. And I did say I sent him messages this morning, but he got them later. So he was like, can I help you now? Because I wanted pronunciation for all the actors and everything. So I seek the help of my other friend, Peter. Both of them are called Peter, by the way. Different Peters. But the idea is that at the end of this, after this, I have learned a few things that are the fabric of, being Hungarian. So I think it's ratings time.
Hey.
Okay. I'm going to break your 1 out of 10 scale, assuming. I'm going to give this 540 silver wrap chocolate bars out of 550.
What the fuck?
You stole what I was going to say.
I go for walks around where I live, and there's this tiny little house. It's really small, and I think it would be a pretty basic looking house, pretty much anywhere else. But this has a quirky positioning. It's, for some inexplicable reason, in middle of Los Angeles. It's encroached upon by 2 enormous apartment buildings, and it's the only house on the street. And the apartment buildings are hideous. They're just brutalist nightmares, right? And this house entrances me and hypnotizes me because it looks like a little oasis of peace between these 2 monstrosities. If I saw this house anywhere else, I wouldn't give it a second thought, right? And this movie feels like that to me. It feels like it gave me all these quiet, beautiful moments that shone more because they were sandwiched between absolute, visceral, disgusting, vile imagery, right? And I feel like a lot of people would make Umba said at the beginning of this, when he went to see this in the theater, he was like, all I remembered was the shock value. I was really into the shock value of it, right? And I could see a director approaching something like this and being like, the shock value being the really interesting thing in it. I feel like that happened with that Mother exclamation point movie, right? But like, this feels like it has an absolute purpose to the ugliness, which is these little thoughtful, like peaceful moments. Not that there's a lot of peace in it, right? But like these little jewel moments in between feel different because they were interspersed with some really extreme imagery, right? And I think we've been saying it the whole episode, but it's basically like it has a really unique flavor of its own because of how that particular way it was woven together. And just, you know, the camera work, the choice of the camera movement, the imagery that was shown here, even like that end taxidermy scene, like that's a full-on Cronenberg body horror nightmare moment, right? But I swear to God, I kept looking at it and being like, why are these colors so pretty? Like, why, right? Like, why is this so appealing? Why is it almost meditative, right? It should not be. That's not how body horror works. But it did that in this movie. So I have to give it 540 out of 550 on the candy bar scale.
So I'll have to translate that to our scale. That's a 9.5 out of 10.
Hey, do what you will. Do what you will.
George.
My rating
George.
my rating can be absorbed into your body. We've learned that.
I'm giving this an 8.9. As everybody knows, if I give it above a 5, I'm probably going to watch it again. I said to Umba earlier in the week, I've watched it again. That's probably the last time I'm going to watch it again. And yet, between the time I said that and today, I've rewatched it again twice. I can't help. This film draws me in. This film keeps, and I keep going, no more, please, no more. And I keep then going, just a little bit more. Just, I just need to see that scene again. Or, I need to hear that line again in Hungarian. And it's a weird little magic trick of a film. It shouldn't be as tasty. It shouldn't be as appetizing as it is, because it isn't. But yet I can't stay away from this film. This film now, to put it into context, I will probably never watch a Serbian film again. And there's a whole load a load of films that are shock value films that I used to own, and I was very easy to give up. This was one of those films. I remember looking at it and going, shall I give this film up? And I thought, I'm probably never going to watch it again. It's one of those films that see it once, never watch again. And yet I've proven myself wrong, because I've watched it 3 times in a week, and I researched it, and I love all the history of it, and I love everything about it. And so what is it? It's an 8.9 family bathtubs.
Nice one. Nice one. So this is a 9. It's a 9. It's a reminder of why I love this medium. There's a ton of skill being displayed here from the filmmaker in question, which is Mr. György Pálfi. As soon as I finish this, I will host a game night that we have ahead of us, and then right before I go to bed, I'm going to go and hunt for every single movie this guy has made and start from the top, because that's the one we're talking about, and work my way down and watch the ones I missed. It was a window into the way I perceived things 20 years ago and the way I perceive things now. And my theory about, which you guys agree with, I think when it comes down to degustation of a film these days, I always have to take into account the amount of luggage I managed to accrue over time, the amount of scars. Just life experience itself is very useful, because you may have not been able to pick up on something years ago. And I think this movie is a perfect example of that. A perfect example of that. On top of that, you know, all that heart, all that, there's a fable-like quality to it, but this movie it's not whimsy at all. There's no whimsy here somehow. This movie is endearingly grotesque. And on that note, this was Umba.
This is Ricky.
And this is George.
Your word is mine. Won't take you right. Just show your face. Broad daylight. I'm telling you how I feel. Gonna get your mind. Don't you dare jump on. watch your mouth. I know you dream what you're about. When they say the sky's the limit, and to me this really true. But my friend, you have seen nothing. There's a way to argue because I'm bad. I'm bad. You know I'm bad. You know I'm bad. I'm bad. You know it. You know I'm bad. I'm bad.
This is Ricky.
George?
You fucking cunt, Smoothie. We're gonna do it again. I'm not gonna. Don't fucking say to which one goes first.